Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, 5 things we learned, United against Newcastle. It didn't get any better with the sleep, did it? I'm going to be honest with you. Let's get into it, shall we? Get your questions, get your comments in, and I'll come and chat to you guys once we get through the 5 things. So, first things first. It's usually a good place to start, in it, with the first thing. Soft centre. Obviously, that's a broken record, but it's been absolutely disastrous how weak and embarrassingly feeble midfield is. And I think the component parts are there. And I said last night, for the first 20 minutes or so, I actually felt like, I was like, oh, Casemiro's back. He was just taking up the right positions. He was doing the right sort of thing. But alas, he's still not able to do it on his own. You can't pair Casemiro with an attacking midfielder in Mason Mount. Certainly not yet. Maybe once this team starts to dominate the ball a little bit. But when you're playing transitional football, it's a bit of a recipe for a disaster at the moment. We were overrun, we were outpowered, we were outworked. Livramento's run and assist is just an example of that. Opposition are playing at a different speed to Manchester United. There is no reason for us to be slow. We're easy to bypass. When we ain't got the ball, people just walk through us. And it almost looks like they've given up. Number 2, Delo had a disaster. Had an absolute nightmare. He was at fault for both of the goals in the first half. Didn't look like he was mentally prepared for the game. And it wasn't just those mistakes either. There was a couple of times where he got on the ball, I was kind of like, what are you doing? Do you know where you're supposed to be? Nothing went right for him with or without the ball. It looked like Newcastle might have targeted him, and obviously that worked for them. They peppered him time and time again. With Wan-Bissaka now back from injury, does that mean his place is in jeopardy? Number 3, we spoke about this the other day. Myself and Ronnie, I think we did it on XG Files, but I think I've mentioned it on numerous different videos. But what is our best 11? Really? There's selection problems because nobody's in form, which is not a good selection problem to be having. Like, there's great selection problems. When everyone's flying, who do I leave out? Tough decision as a manager. But when no one's in form, then who do you leave out? Who deserves to play? Something has to give. I have similar, albeit not anywhere near the same level of pressure. I have similar selection headaches myself. I've resorted to recently having, I select who trains. And actually it helps great numbers at training because people want to play. Simple as that. But I don't think United can go, right, okay, whoever trains. It's their full-time job. They're there. They're turning up. It's your job, to quote Roy Keane. But something tactically isn't clicking while they're at training. And I think it's going beyond personnel at this point. Is it a case of, yeah, look, we don't know what our best 11 is. Factually, we don't. But we don't even know what we're supposed to be doing regardless of the 11. Newcastle's second team came and looked better coached. This team could be anything against Fulham. I have no idea where to start. Do we see Kobe Mainoo? Do we see Wan-Bissaka? Do we see Anthony Martial, who I thought, if I was going to touch on the game and the gameplay, because it feels like the gameplay part of the game last night is almost irrelevant. But if I'm going to touch on the gameplay parts of the game, I thought there was at times that Anthony Martial's link-up looked really nice. And as I said last night, is this game over for him? It smells like he's walking towards the end game. It's our worst ever start to a season. There doesn't appear to be the signs of turning round. Has the off-field stuff caught up and affected? Has it? I don't know. Things are really starting to look desperate. I don't know if the players have given up on him. Newcastle obviously made 7, 8 changes to the starting 11. Number 5. It's never been worse. United have lost consecutive home games by 3 or more goals for the first time since October 1962. It was Newcastle's biggest away win since 1930. We've lost 8 of our first 15 games in a season for the first time since 1962-63. We've lost 5 of the first 10 at home for the first time since 1930. Like, the records are tumbling at the moment. And I don't know where they get turned around. The component parts are all there, but we're not able to make a jigsaw out of the pieces that are on the table. I don't know what's going on. Hodges with a super chat says, how can we expect to win or improve if the very people who own the club are lazy, unmotivated and satisfied with Champions League, plus taking funds out, weakening us? It's a great point, and it's a valid point, and it's a point that shouldn't be ignored, and it should be discussed about. Today I'm bored of talking about it because that doesn't impact the individual player decision-making and the fact that a second team came to us looking far more coached than what we was able to put out. Yes, bigger picture-wise, it absolutely matters. It matters so much. But on a macro level, game-by-game basis, what is happening isn't good enough. Stephen, who's been a member of the channel for 13 months, says, good morning, Steve. What do I think can change to not keep seeing the same performances in the last 2 games? Players seem disinterested. I think, here's what I'd do. Today's Thursday. They're not getting a day off today. You're coming in, we're working on tactics. I need to look players in the eyes today and see the hunger. And that's what I'd be saying to him. If any of you think you were going to the fucking hairdressers this morning, forget about it. You're in today. And we're going to play an 11v11. And you lot are going to pick the fucking team for Saturday. And that's how we're going to do it. I want to see the players with the heart and the desire. And that's not technical. And that's not tactical. That things can come later. Those things can come later. Because this Manchester United side at the moment is lacking those basic fundamentals of fight and desire. And I think sometimes it's a little bit baseline analysis. The players don't want it. And being real, of course they want it. But there needs to be an element of showing that right now. So I would say, you're not going to pick the team, and you're going to pick it on work rate and desire. Because right now we are being outworked. So there's 11. There's 11. Play. We're going to watch. Fold my arms, sit back and go, impress me. And we're going to do that today. And then we're going to pick the team. And then tomorrow, we're going to work on the specific tactical things that team we picked today needs to do to go on a Saturday and win. And then they can have Sunday off. And then we bring them back in again on Monday and we say, right, 11v11, you fuckers pick the team again. And that's how we're going to do it. And the consequence of what you get in that is that training should, it's obviously no guarantee, but training should start getting to the required level that you need to be able to compete with United. And the cream should rise to the top. It should. Doesn't necessarily happen, but it should. Abin says, I'm curious as to how this fan base are going to find a way to blame Marcus and Bruno for going 3-0 down without them even being on the pitch. It'll happen. But no, I dropped them for the game in my preview, and no, they did get dropped, and I think it was the right decision. Lee says, I'm not Ten Hag out. However, this statement was damning about playing like Ajax. The players Ten Hag didn't want will eventually get him sacked. Yeah, I agree. I didn't like that statement at all, actually. Because I disagree that he can't play that way. I think he could have easily played the same style he was playing at Ajax. If you say I can't necessarily do it in the Premier League because there's different circumstances, I think that'd be a better answer. But yeah. Jace Parker says last night was gash. Fact. MK says Steve is in Nketiah showing the difference between a smart striker and a dumb one. Not a first team regular, but a growth in every game this year. Rashford's not grown in 7 years, just patches of form. I absolutely disagree that Rashford hasn't grown. He has grown. He's poor this season, but he has grown. Arcade says, with a super chat there, says, appreciate your approach to football commentary. You educate more than just talk like many others. Cheers. Big fan. Always learn from you. Well, thanks. I do try. I'm not an expert, but I'm an enthusiastic amateur. Ian Steele says, is Anthony the worst big money signing of all time? He's better than Mudryk, if that's any consolation. Matt says, frightening just how many players we have accumulated who are simply not good enough. Ian says, Anthony is a bad attitude atop, a bad right foot and a mediocre left. Damning. Peter Murphy says, the only time I can remember where's that gone? Just lost that chat. Being a fan is more of a chore than a joy, innit? Daniel says, if he does get sacked, who would you want as the new manager? I'm not looking at that. I don't think that's a good use of my time at the moment. Hodges with another super chat says, how would I motivate the players? They seem to not carry the same pride, passion and hunger like fans do. I'd be desperate to give a motivational speech to these players, the board and everyone involved with the club. That's very hard to do. And it isn't just about, you can't be, you don't just drop fucking any given Sunday speeches on players and then watch Brazil 1970 take to the pitch. That's, it doesn't work like that. The players have to be educated in terms of what you're looking for. And sometimes what you're looking for might not be the optimal thing that you can produce on the pitch. But usually a team that plays to a plan plays better than a team that plays to no plan. Good teams can get away with a little bit of off the cuff, especially in the final third. I don't think you can coach final third play as much as other aspects of the pitch. I think final third play does have to have an element of creativity. And what's the word I'm looking for? Adaptability. You have to react to the things that are happening in front of you. There has to be principles. The principles might be that we look to try and get 2v1 on a particular player. The easiest players to 2v1 are either the centre halves or the fullbacks, typically. Now, you might, but then that's where the tactics part comes in, because if you see, if you go and see one set of opposition, especially at Premier League level where scouting is extremely easy and the analysis available is almost too much to comprehend. If you come up against an opposition, let's call them London United, just for the ease of argument. London United are coming to town this weekend, and we know that London United, they always go with an overlapping fullback down their left-hand side with their winger, and they look to 2v1, your right back, and then they'll get crosses into the box. So they're going to try and force an overload down that side. Okay, well, after a certain amount of time, opposition will adapt to that. And they'll start saying, all right, well, if they're going to attack down that side, we'll attack down that side too. There's two ways to approach that. So, like, if you've got a team, let's look at the way Trent and Salah are, yeah? That's Liverpool's main attacking channel. They will attack down that side. Now, we've seen in the past, Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford attacking down that side is the best form of defence, because they're used to teams that go, okay, they're a threat, let's try and contain, let's put an extra midfielder in here, let's have our winger and our fullback, and then we've got 3v2. Sweet, right? We found success by actually going, fuck that noise, and putting our biggest asset onto that and trying to attack down there, because then it forces them to change the way. That's where the chess element of football comes in. Every action has reaction and consequences. So whatever you're trying to achieve on a football pitch, there's different ways to sort of set this up. And I don't think just being motivational in terms of your speak. I think you obviously have to have a way of getting through to the players. But anyone who's ever sat in a changing room, if you've needed a manager to motivate you for the game, you're in the wrong spot. I would imagine the job of a manager, for the most part, is... For the most part, I think, is down to maybe managing the motivation. Because sometimes people get too excited and too giddy. Especially in a cup final, you might want to relax them, take the pressure off, rather than, these biblical speeches. They're getting a bit carried away. I think a team that just comfortably knows what it's doing doesn't need motivation. They need the atmosphere and the environment to be where they can go and execute the things that you've discussed. And I think you'll get a better result out of that. Jamie says, get a win on Saturday and go from there. I mean, that's all you can do at the moment, isn't it? Yash says, in sport, small margins make all the difference. The Glazers are limiting investment to achieve these small margins. Yeah. Jockey says, morning Steve, respect all the hard work you put into the IRL channel. Keep up the quality. There'll be more stuff coming out on there, so keep it locked. If you've not seen it, go and have a look. Jack Reynolds says, every game a different player has the worst game of their career, making individual errors and destroying morale. It feels like that, doesn't it? Paul says, this is the standard reaction. Things go south, they down tools, they get the manager sacked, they start all over again. All the managers post-Fergie can't be bad. Exactly. I completely agree with that. I absolutely, completely agree with that. I think having the entire back four out has certainly not been helpful to us at all. And I think the way Erik ten Hag wants to play with us being a possession-based team, I think having Luke Shaw, having... Martinez, having Varane all back in the team will be massive. Wesley says, Ollie, Ragnick and Ten Hag know who the toxic players are. They must have told the recruitment team, why aren't we getting rid of these players? Because contracts exist. Ross says, the club is reshuffling right now. It looks like Arnold and Murta are going to be going with some new people in. We need to wait and see what Radcliffe and plans to do with Ten Hag. Nikhil says, we looked good when Wan-Bissaka came on. And we didn't look that good though, did we? Dan United says, poor recruitment is a result of the Glazers hiring yes men for key positions. Woodward, Arnold, Murta, Fletch, no specialist football department. We rely on Ten Hag's phone book for signings. Yeah. See, this is, I did touch on this the other day, Monday maybe. The gift and the curse that Erik ten Hag is dealing with at the moment is he's doing the recruitment, or it looks, I don't know for certain, but it looks as if Ten Hag is doing the recruitment because we've recruited how many players that he already have relationships with. That tells me he's the one driving this recruitment. Ideal scenario is he goes, I need a new right back, one that is comfortable with his feet but quick enough to recover, blah, 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 blah. And he says, that's what I want. And then the recruitment team go, okay, right, these are the four options. And he goes, yeah, okay, they look good. Actually, no, not that one, but them three, yes. And then they go and speak to him, and then they go, right, we got you this one. That's how it should be. And L with a super chat says, player profiling has been our biggest issue for time. Yeah, it felt like Woodward just went with whichever agent he thought was going to be his mate. Like George Mendes bought a new island on the back of us, I think. Putting players through him. I think he had a relationship with Raiola while he was still alive, where he was trying to sign players through that. Obviously Lukaku, Mkhitaryan, I think Mkhitaryan's with Raiola as well. Obviously Pogba being a big one. It felt like we just get in bed with an agent and it was like, he's the saviour, he's going to deliver us all our players. It's not necessarily the case. Your recruitment shouldn't be driven by who you know. It should be driven by what you need. And then you go out and find that need. That's why Brighton have been successful. That's why the best teams have been successful. SM says, we're going to appoint Conte before Christmas, aren't we? I hope not. MK says, in my humble opinion, who are the three most toxic players right now, the ones who will turn against Ten Hag? I have no idea. I don't know if... I think there's a reason Sancho probably no longer trains with the first team. outside of that, I don't know if the players are toxic in training. I've never heard that. I've never heard that. So I don't know if the players are toxic in training. I can see the standards being a bit shit. I can. Because the evidence of what's on the pitch tells me that it is. But no, I don't know if there are that many toxic players, to be honest. I could be wrong. Hodges with another super chat. Fucking hell. Cheers, but got a bit bananas here. You can just put a question in. Great point, Steve. I'm 22 from Australia in the film industry. Communication and project management and values and passion are paramount. It seems it's a similar approach with effective football management. I think so. Lewis Ray says Frimpong. Cash says, don't understand how Joel Glazer is responsible to the team's results. Well, ultimately, he's the one making all the big fucking decisions, isn't he? So at some point, it's on him. Hodges again says, your insights, analysis and content is incredibly thorough and informative. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you. I try. I don't know if it's incredible, but I try. And I try and be level-headed with it. That's all I can do. I try not to be reactionary, even though I still get called reactionary. I tried to have a little bit of fun last night with the thumbnail. And I don't know how many people didn't realise that was Neil Warnock, but we move. Lee says, sitting here trying to concentrate on insurance and discuss United's current situation. Love to meet you for a beer pre-game. Cheers. Oh, you've just bought us one, so thank you. Niall says, man, please don't U-turn on Ten Hag. When have I done that? When did I do that? MK says, players may not be toxic in training, but the attitudes are shocking on the pitch. I'll give you that. Free World says, Ten Hag recruitment plan is the worst strategy. Jarvis says, who would I sell? Maguire or Lindelof? Pick one. Either. What mic have I got? That one. Why don't fans protest more? Because we fucking protested how hard for how many years? You tell me what it's achieved. The only time we did anything was when we got the game stopped. And then lots of fucking good people got banned for that because they found out. So, Abhinav with a super chat says, I want physically fit players. These lot look like they got COVID and can't breathe. GC with a super chat says, look at the staff. Fletcher, TD, McCarthy, Carrick, Giggs. Now Jones being mentioned, but we had Butt, Ollie, McLaren, Phelan. Fergie keeps employing his mates. Micah Richards isn't technical director at City, is he? No, he's not technical director at City, but like you have no idea where good comes from. You know, some players end up being really good in recruitment jobs and some not. And I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to the ones who are and the ones who aren't. Ant says, love to see Mullenstein as the head coach of the first team. I'd love to see Rennie in the mix. Guyan says, if we lost heavily to Liverpool in December, will I start calling Erik Ten Hag out? Is this the first video you've ever watched of me? It's not my style, mate, to be like, get rid of a manager. And it never will be. So I can see it being problematic for him if he loses to Liverpool, for sure. I think it definitely could be problematic for him. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Ash is on his way in. It's probably late for Heads Gone. So I've asked for some questions on Twitter on that. If you want to go and find that thread and add to it, crack on with that. Otherwise, the fan channel are about to go live in a second with the news. I think it's Makola, so go check that out. And I'll see you lot in the next one. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.